This is Blenderstyle, the show where we discuss an extreme blend of music. In this episode, we have a fan pick, Ghost, Opus Eponymous, released in 2010. Let us know what other albums we should review. Cheers, gentlemen.
Cheers.
Cheers.
My friend Mike Dunham is the biggest Ghost fan I know. I'm pretty sure it's his favorite band if you were going to ask him. And he mentioned this a long time ago. I said, all right, if we're going to do Ghost, which album should we do? He's like, oh, do the first one. I was like, all right. So I put it on the list, picked it off our list. We're going to check out Ghost, Opus Eponymous. I've heard some singles of Ghost, and I did not like them. I used to talk mad shit about Ghost, but that was just based on like their newer stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I hadn't really heard anything off this, I don't think. Square Hammer's cool. But that's like all I was a kind of a Ghost hater before going into this. But Mike, I'm giving it a fair shot. Are you guys familiar with Ghost?
I wondered where this came from because I don't listen to Ghost. I know you don't listen to Ghost when he suggested
You seem like
it.
a Ghost fan.
And I don't know if I've ever listened to Ghost with you, Nathan.
No, you've never listened to Ghost.
But I am familiar with the idea of Ghost.
What do you mean by that?
I've seen pictures, and I know...
They look fucking cool.
That's one way to put it. I've seen pictures, and I've, seen about shows, but I've never been interested in them because of the way they look. I always thought it was just this stupid gimmick.
Is it too like Disneyland for you?
It's too 90s Marilyn Manson.
Oh, I thought that was scary. This is older than that. This is more like Kiss makeup.
Yeah, exactly. And so it was just kind of that cheesy gimmick, I think. And then all the people in the rest of the band just wore the cloaks or whatever. So I never gave it a chance. Plus, I thought just based off their looks that they were just like this straight black metal, whatever. Probably couldn't understand a word the dude's saying.
Yeah, not even close.
No. Not even.
So
Nathan?
a friend of mine was like, hey, have you heard of Ghost? I was like, no. So he's like, I think you'll like him. It's like a Sabbath, but with a like opera sound to it. And I was like, well, okay. And like
that sounds bad.
Well, at first I was kind of like, oh, maybe that is kind of cool. Opera, Black Sabbath. Like shit, I could maybe you could do some cool shit with that. And he let me. It was a CD, and he let me borrow it. And I think I had to go like pick up my wife from like the airport or something. And I listened to it. I was like, oh, this is kind of all right, And
do you remember which album it was?
This one.
Oh, this one, cool.
And never listened to him after that. The gimmick has also turned me off. I've heard singles, and I haven't been a fan.
So the internet even debates if this is metal. I would call this just straight up heavy metal. I don't think it's...
Well, I think there's definitely like a pop influence with this.
Yeah, I would
sure
classify this more on the hard rock than I would consider it metal.
I think it's just barely into... If you go back to like 70s heavy metal.
Maybe. And so there's this thing, kind of what you're saying. I was reading that they classify this as heavy metal merging on black metal.
Not even.
Which I didn't understand at all because I don't catch... I mean, at least with this, maybe their newer stuff, but like I said, I'm not a fan.
It's farther, it's less
Okay.
metal later on,
I think they covered it later on a version of Here Comes the Sun from the Beatles.
The drum beats in this are like dancey. You know what I mean? It gets like... it's very gimmicky, though, for sure. It's like, oh, this is satanic, but we're getting real close to sounding Christian.
This is the...
We're getting really close to sounding...
You mean the like music, right?
Worship, yeah. Well, the vocals, like, mainly, too.
Right, it's like poppy, kind of... There's, like, bright moments that sound happy, but they're singing about Satan.
Yeah.
The lyrics are very satanic. There's even, like, occult references in here.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was, like... If this was all death metal, these lyrics would be, like...
Scary.
Very satanic.
Mm-hmm.
It reminds me of... there's this band called Prom Queen, and they do this album called Doom Wop.
Okay.
It's like doo wop, but it's all, like... fucked up lyrics and stuff.
That's pretty awesome.
This is like a throwback band, but they have like way more screwed up vocal lyrics.
Really? I didn't really
This
dive
sounds
into
old
the
as shit.
lyrics very much. You know what I mean? I don't know.
I checked a few out. I didn't go. I read the outline of this. Supposedly, it's the album's about the forthcoming arrival of the devil.
The Antichrist or something.
And then like they continue this, so the next album's about like now the devil's on Earth and kind of like whatever. I didn't really kind of read into
and it sounds nothing like that.
Well, my thing is it's kind of like how Behemoth has gotten. You know, it's like Satan, satanic, blah blah blah.
We're like, all right.
Yeah,
But if
you're saying Lucifer, you're saying the devil, but what are you really? You're not saying anything.
But if you say you're satanic, that makes you satanic.
It's very throwback for sure. Like,
yeah,
there's nothing modern about this at all, really. I don't think. It's like a lot of people compare it to Blue Oyster Cult.
I compared this more to Kiss. Like this had the bass driven parts, just like Kiss does. They have a lot of the song structure going on.
Yeah, very predictable songs.
Very predictable, very classic in the way they write, which is why I don't understand the heavy metal / death metal vibe that these guys are putting. Maybe they're just basing that off the lyrical content.
Yeah, they're like.
Well, I mean, I do hear like
spooky.
King Diamond in some parts of this, and people
Definitely.
reference King Diamond to black metal, even though I don't really consider King Diamond black metal. You know?
That's like jumping the Grand Canyon.
This is like poppy, accessible King Diamond.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Without the.
Well, there's not much going on instrument.
It is pretty riffy though. Like a lot of
there's some really good riffs.
I was surprised with how guitar driven this was.
I'm just really let down with the tone of these guitars. Like if these guitars were a little beefier, it would act, and with that dance like drum beat going on, I feel like it would sound better.
Yeah, they have like one,
and he could even keep his vocals the way they are.
He has like one pedal.
Yeah, it's like all flat sounding.
He doesn't even use a pedal. He just uses the built-in head distortion.
It's just like
it sounds like a choir. You know what I mean? Like a choir will sing a different song, and you're like, "Well, this sounds like the last song that I heard."
So you don't. So it's too light. Like the instruments and stuff are too light because they are. It's kind of heavy, riffy. You know, like Black Sabbath kind of riffs.
For sure, the riffs are like I'm saying. If maybe they even like.
But Black Sabbath isn't like that beefy sounding either. Some of it's more clean sounding riffs.
Yeah, dude. This is nothing close to Black Sabbath.
I would agree, but it's like
I wouldn't even like.
Is it not even the same ballpark for you?
No way, not riff wise at least, no. But I would say Kiss more like it because I feel like Ghost is gonna be like Kiss, where like he might not even be in the band anymore, and there's gonna be some other people, and Ghost will live on like Kiss. Everyone's gonna die. Gene Simmons is gonna die, but somebody's gonna fulfill the character.
Yeah,
and just Kiss will just continue on.
It's more of a not really necessarily a band, but more of a merchandising machine.
That's how it feels to me.
Like Menudo.
Yeah,
they just cycle in 15-year-old boys.
It's kind of like that person. Like when you see somebody actually wearing like a band tee of this or something, you kind of wonder like even like. Are they familiar with this, or did they just buy it because they went in a Hot Topic and there was a
Ghost shirt,
you know?
Yeah, good point. This kind of reminded me of Alice Cooper.
Yeah, kind of. There's that showmanship, and that's what I'm saying. That's like that '70s kind of early rock transition to metal kind of thing going on, where it's
just a modern take on it.
It's very.
It's not even that modern though. It's just more polished and
it's more polished. This is the Kiss of the 21st century.
See, I don't. I kind of agree.
I get what you're saying when you bring up like Alice Cooper and stuff, but like I just still don't even see Alice Cooper in this.
Well, I think the problem with it though is Nathan.
No, I don't think it sounds.
But I get what you're saying. Like the 70s, I don't. This isn't even. Dude, Alice Cooper's edgier than this. You know.
Well, but Nathan, what I think you're
like that's what it feels like to me.
I don't disagree, but it's like
it's more interesting. There's not very interesting stuff going on throughout this album.
Oh, Alice Cooper that we reviewed. Welcome to Your Nightmare or Welcome to My Nightmare, and they're doing tons of different shit on that.
Well, so what I was saying was I think the disconnect is also because at the time that was original. Like when Alice Cooper and Ozzy or Black Sabbath and Kiss were doing this stuff, it was something that hadn't been heard before. And so this is kind of recycled. So it's hard to give them credit other than their production quality, I think is really good on it. But as far as originality, it's not super original.
Not really, no.
But at the same time, I don't want to like make it sound like it's a trash album, because I was really surprised when I listened to this about how I had perceived it and how it actually was. This was actually a really good album. There was, like you said, there's some really good riffy guitar parts.
Well said, actually.
There's some great bass drive and some bass lines and stuff. I agree with Nathan. The distortion on this is kind of weak at times. And I think that's where that whole disconnect thing, like this is a rock opera album. This isn't necessarily a metal or a black metal or even a heavy metal album. It's strictly rock. It's rock.
It's rock and roll high school, dude.
Yeah, it's a show. It's meant to be put together to be a show, and it's meant to be a stage show when they're up there playing this stuff. But I thought it was really good. I thought it was well done. The vocals were clean. The mix was great. The guitars were good. There was nothing super flashy about it. It was that Kiss thing, that really basic guitar riff, bass drive, kind of 70s disco vibes at some points and stuff. It was just really weird for me.
So the look of this band definitely doesn't line up to what they sound like, or at least initially. But it's not bad. I enjoyed it too. Surprisingly, I thought it was pretty riffy.
Mm-hmm.
So what would you rate it, Casey?
So I agree with you. Like the vision of this band, and I think just the press for what this band is doesn't match what this band actually is. And so I never gave it a chance. But going and listening to it, I give it a 3.8 out of 5. I thought it was really good. I'm not a huge Kiss fan, but I got to give them credit where credit's due, and I think this band kind of follows that kind of same trend. I haven't listened to anything else, but from the stuff that I've heard on this album, I thought it was really good. The production was great. The vocals were great. The lyric content was kind of cheesy at times, but it was still good, and everything fit really well where it needed to go. So 3.8. What about you, Nathan?
Well, I give it a 3.0 because I definitely think there was some good riffage in some parts. I think there was some good vocals in some parts. The drums were whatever. The bass was good in some parts. But like I'm saying, some parts, there was times where like I could, fall asleep. It didn't pique my interest.
Mm-hmm.
And then every once in a while something would pop out and I'd be like, oh, that was pretty cool. So this album's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Would I suggest it? Probably not. But I got to give it some credit. It's a 3.0.
Nice.
So I also put on my notes that this album, the more I listened to it, the better it got. And I'm sitting at a 3.8, but I'm sure it'll go up the more I listen to it. But one thing that bugged me, to kind of touch on what you were just saying, was when I was reading their bio for this band, the singer or Tobias Forge, he said something about the way this band was formed was he was in another band and presented a guitar riff that was the heaviest riff that he'd ever heard, and it got stuck in his head. And that's what this band, like, they released a 3-song demo and stirred up a lot of like record label like interest. And
really, I did not know this.
I want to hear what that
Yeah,
riff
me too.
that was so heavy is, because I
think he was in like a death metal band before this.
maybe,
or something.
but if that's
what I heard, that like everyone that had like played with him and
Yeah.
around him and him was like in grindcore, death metal. They were
But
like,
if that led to this, I mean, that's a huge gap.
It's like speaks to the. Do you think the commercialization of this is intentional?
And maybe that's what it is.
He's like, I can play heavy shit, but I know if I do this,
yeah,
I
could
I'm gonna make
merchandise
money.
and let this go forever.
There's fucking action figures.
No, and that's what I'm saying. This is a merchandising machine. That's all this band was. I mean, I'm not knocking it for what it is, but it is.
And it's super accessible too.
Oh yeah.
Until you start listening to the lyrics and your grandma's like, oh no.
So Matt, what do you think?
This one was a tough one for me, guys. was openly a Ghost hater.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, this band sucks. I like Square Hammer and everything else is really bad. There's one where he's doing like ballet dancing in the video. Ugh, it's just and this has some of that, like the bright parts
Mm-hmm.
that kind of bug me. But I caught myself like enjoying it over and over again, and it would like kind of get stuck in my head, and it's a little infectious. Ghost has earned a little bit of my respect with this album.
Mm-hmm.
I give it a 4.0 out of 5.
Oh, okay.
I think it's pretty.
Damn, dude.
This album
That's
for
good.
sure is solid. It's like I said, it's very riffy.
It is very earwormy.
You know what this is? This is Anton LaVey's favorite band. The guy who wrote the Satanic Bible and started the Church of Satan in San Francisco. And I think that's some of the lore of Ghost is they're like actually really old.
Mm-hmm.
Which is kind of like, I kind of hate that stuff about it. I hate how commercial it is. I hate the bright parts, but I have to give it credit where credit's due. Kind of like what you're saying. And I think it's a good album. It's a 4 for me. This is Blenderstyle. That was Ghost, Opus Eponymous. Let us know what we should review next. Leave a comment, like, and subscribe.
This one time, Casey was making this pottery, and I came behind him, and I helped him shape it.